everyone, my name is Anu and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I want to talk about communication skills. So I have received this query a lot of times that how do I get better at communication skills? And before diving deep into how do you actually improve communication skills, let's talk about why it is actually important. So communication skills is crucial in any field, not just in software engineering, but also in any profession that you're in. Communication is something that you have to do. You have to be clear. You have to be persuasive. You need to know how to communicate with people. You need to know how to present your ideas, and that's the only way that you can actually grow in your role. So whether it's in software engineering or let's say you are in finance, most of your job, majority of your job is going to be about communicating. How well do you communicate? How do you talk to different stakeholders? How do you communicate over different channels? So in this video, I want to share 5 tips on how you actually can get better at communicating, and hopefully it will give you a lot of insights into what communication skills are, because this is something that is not generally taught to us in college, or we don't get to learn a lot about it when we are actually doing engineering. But I feel that about 70% of your job is all about communicating, and the sooner that you get better at it, the better it's going to be for you, for your career. So without further ado, let's dive right in. First tip that I have for communication skills is one, know your audience. So knowing your audience means that you should know who you're talking to, whether it's a technical writer, whether it's your manager, or is it an intern, or is it someone who is very technically skilled. So there are these different kinds of people that you have to talk to in your daily job. You might be talking to product managers, you might be talking to technical writers, you're talking to your managers, you're talking to your team lead who is a technical team lead, or maybe you're talking to someone who is totally new in your team. So with each of these people, you need to know what kind of communication skills you have to use. So let's suppose you're talking to a technical writer, you need to make sure that they know enough details about that technical project, but they don't need to know a lot more details about how things are actually working under the hood. So knowing your audience helps you concise your problem, helps you bring it down to a scale that you know, okay, in this meeting I need to talk about this is the person that I'm talking to. I know that they will have these kinds of details, and these kinds of details are something that they won't have, so I need to go ahead and provide them with those details. So that knowing your audience will actually help you tailor your content towards them. So let's say if I am in a team and I am mentoring an intern, I know that they're new to the team, they're new to the whole architecture, they're new to the whole system, so they probably will need a lot more help. And if I start using a lot of technical jargons around them, it will probably demotivate them and they won't be able to understand a lot of it. So in every conversation, you don't need to think about, okay, how will I look smart if I probably use more technical jargons. It's more about how do I get my point across, how do I get my point through by being as clear as possible. And for that, you should always know your audience. If you're talking to a leadership team, you know that they will not be concerned a lot more about technical details, but they will be concerned around the impact. So you need to tailor your content according to them. You need to see what your audience is, what their attention lies in, what is their interest. So whenever that you're talking to any person, you need to gauge their interests first, like what is it that they will be interested in, and you need to tailor your content according to that. So that will be my first tip, that you should know your audience. Be prepared, come prepared, and research your audience before you actually go ahead and communicate with them. The second point that I have is structure. So structure is really important. So now what happens is, after the first step, you know your audience. So now that you know your audience, you need to structure your communication. So whenever I'm doing a YouTube video, you'll see me first talking about an introduction where I welcome people to my channel, and then I give a short intro about what we're going to be talking about in this video, and then I go ahead and proceed with the video. And even in the video, I have certain points that, okay, we'll be talking about 4 points, 5 points, and then at the end there is an outro. So I say bye, see you next time. So why I'm trying to highlight this is because anytime that you're talking to somebody, you need to have a structure in mind, that what is the beginning, what is the middle, and what is the end. So these are the 3 things you only need to care about: the beginning, the middle, and the end. And anytime that you're talking to someone, if you have that kind of structure in your head that you need to talk about all of this with these particular points, you're going to nail that communication. Instead, if you go ahead and just straight away dive deep into the topic and maybe you get distracted by something else along the way, then that communication is not going to be clear. Communication is not about, okay, how sophisticated words you're using, what complex words you're using. It's all about how do you get the point across, how do you get the point through. So for that, it's very important that you structure your communication, you prepare that you want to talk about these things in this order. And if you do that after knowing who your audience is, you are going to be doing very well in communication. So the third point that I have is know your medium. So as software engineers, we have to communicate over a ton of channels. So whether it's bugganizer tickets, or it's like some issues, or it's emails, or it's some chat threads, or it's meeting notes. So there are a ton of communication channels that you have to maintain, and at each communication channel, the way that you communicate your idea is going to be different. So let's say I have a bug, I have an issue. So there I'm not going to write, let's say, hi, respected, or regard. There it's all about the technical details, right? I need to get into the nitty-gritty details. I probably need to have few screenshots of code snippets, and I need to probably highlight some commands that I ran or some code that I've written. So that is how you communicate over a bug or a ticket. And the second thing that you have to do is email. So on email, you need to add respected, dear, you need to add some kind of salutation, as we say, and then you need to have a body, a paragraph, and then you need to add some kind of regards or some ending message that you have to. So that is how you communicate over an email. It's much more formal. And the third communication could be that you have over your chat. So whether it's Slack, or whether it's Teams, there are multiple channels that we as software engineers have to communicate over. So over chat threads as well, the communication is a bit more informal. So you need to know that here, okay, I don't need to write a lot of, it doesn't have to be formal. It can be very informal. It can be very direct. And you need to be aware of that, because that will make your communication very efficient, right? So if I start writing a lot of details over chat, over a bugganizer or a bug issue, then it's going to be very tedious for me, and it's probably going to slow down my communication skills, which you don't want to happen. So know your medium, know what you're talking about, and if you're giving your presentation, then accordingly, like, know that you have to write slides, and in slides it's all about writing basic points. So if you have ever, that is why participating in hackathons is another great way to learn more about presentation skills and about bugs and how do you communicate over chat threads and emails. I feel real life engineering experience like internships or work experience is going to teach you a lot as well. But I just want to let you know that knowing your medium is equally important, so that you are very efficient, you are very clear, and you don't waste a lot of time including a lot of details which are probably not needed. So the fourth point that I have is pause and check in with your audience. So what that means is that in communication, it's very important that you take pauses. I personally know that many a times I might have talked continuously in a meeting, and after that it was just like, okay, what did we even agree on? So it's important that you pause, you check in with your audience, you make sure that you both are on the same page. Now when I say being on the same page, it's all about, okay, we have discussed these points, is that clear with everyone? And not just in a meeting, even when you're talking to someone, giving that pause. Otherwise what will happen if, let's say, you don't give that particular pause, what will happen is that person is going to go over later and think about, okay, what did I even talk about? And then they're going to come back to you and say, hey, this is not something that we should be doing. So you are doing a lot of back and forth, which could probably be avoided if you just gave them that pause, gave them that moment to think about what you're actually talking about, and making sure that you both are on the same. And that is not just applicable to one-on-one conversations or meetings, it's also applicable to when you are giving a presentation. It's important to give some time to your audience to let them absorb the content, let them absorb everything that you have said to them. So anytime that you're communicating with anybody, make sure that you give that particular pause so that they can slow down, you can slow down. But what happens is, pausing is not just the other person, it's also for you. So let's say I'm talking continuously, but if I give myself that 1 minute of pause, I'm able to gather my thought, and I'm not going to be using a lot of fillers like ooh, because I'm giving myself that pause to think. So your communication will become a lot more clearer if you give that pauses. It will become a lot more efficient, lot more smooth, even for the person that you're talking to and even for yourself. So make sure that whenever you're communicating, you have that pauses in your communication skill to give some time to think, reflect and check back with your audience. So the fifth and the final point that I have is practice. No amount of tips is going to be enough if you don't practice. English is the most important because that is the language that we all communicate in. That is the universal language. So make sure that you're regularly communicating in English, whether it's with your friends or it's with your colleagues, or even just exposing yourself to that environment. So you can listen to podcasts, you can read books, you can watch movies. Make sure that you are exposing yourself to an environment in which you are forced to think and communicate in English. I think that's a number one tip that I can give. Like, especially for me, I keep listening to English songs, I keep watching English movies, and I feel that all of those things as well help you in your communication. And listening to podcasts is a great way. So you can listen to technical podcasts, you can listen to motivational podcasts, or you can read books, which will also help your grammar, your literature, and just exposing yourself to that kind of environment is going to improve your communication skills a lot. So make sure you are practicing, you're talking to people, and you are doing as much as you can communicating in English. That is going to help you in the long run. So those were my 5 tips on how do you improve communication skills. Let me know in the comments if you liked it and what more videos you would like to see from me. I hope this was immensely helpful. This is something that I have learned along the way. I won't say that I knew all of these 4 things just when I joined tech or just when I did my first internship, but this is something that I've learned from over 3 internships and now 9 months as a full-time software engineer, and I just wanted to share that with all of you. So hope you like it. If you did, then do feel free to like this video, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, and it would mean the world to me. In the meantime, you can write any future YouTube content you would like to see from me, and until then, see you next time. Bye.